So you're on Verizon and you've got $100 to spend and you're thinking to yourself Galaxy S3 or maybe Apple iPhone 4S. Well, there's another contender in the Android space that's $99.99 out of the box, brand new. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and that's not to say that those aren't new, but they've been out for some time. This device, the Pantech Perception, is brand new from Pantech, and it packs some pretty nice features, including Android 4.0, a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, an 8-megapixel camera, and more. Where it lags a little bit in comparison to the S3 and the iPhone 4S, it's only got a 2020 milliamp hour battery. It does have 4G LTE, but it's stuck on ice cream sandwich, and it only has 1 gigabyte of RAM as opposed to the Galaxy S3's 2 gigabytes of RAM. Is it worth considering, or should you go with one of the older devices that still has slightly better specifications? We'll find out in the full review of the Pantech Perception, which starts right now. The Pantech Perception is a new smartphone to Verizon Wireless, and it brings a reasonable price point as well. At $99.99, it's going to be great for those people that don't want to break the bank, but they want a reasonably powerful smartphone, and that's not too much to ask for in 2013. The question I have after working with this device for a couple of days, it's $100 brand new, and it's got some decent specifications. That said, it falls behind in a couple of areas. As much as I hate to say it, it's a dual-core processor as opposed to a quad-core processor. It's got Android 4.0, ice cream sandwich instead of Android 4.1. So there are some things that it needs to be bumped up on, at least in the software department, and to some extent in the hardware department. It could have launched with a slightly faster processor. It also only has 1 gigabyte of RAM. We'll go through the specs in just a second, but my question is, the Galaxy S3 and the Apple iPhone 4S are both around the same price point with a new 2-year agreement. Is it worth it to get the older device, like the Galaxy S3, the iPhone 4S, that is a little bit older, but has higher specifications, or should you go with this device just for the sake of it being brand new? That's the question, or one of the questions I want to pose in this review. This is the Pantech Perception, though. Specs-wise, you've got a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM, a 4.8-inch HD display at 720p HD, 8-megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording, and then you've got a design that's very reminiscent of other Pantech smartphones that have been released recently, such as AT&T's device, that's very similar all around, both in specifications and overall design. It's got some neat specifications and features, though. The Pantech Perception, it does make answering calls pretty easy with motion sense, which is kind of a play on Samsung's Air gesture, where you move over the call, or the display rather, and you answer the phone. I think that's a pretty neat feature, and you may or may not use it, but nice that you get it in a phone for $100. Let's dive into this though and talk about the hardware first here. Power button on the right side, you've got your volume rocker on the left side, nothing at the bottom, camera on the back, and kind of this metal looking battery door that reminds me of some of LG's older feature phones from the day, or back in the day rather. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack up here as well, a micro USB charging port that's covered by a flap. And then over here, like I said, kind of a curved look and feel to this device. It fits nicely in the hand at 4.8 inches. It's going to be great for those people that want something that has a bigger display but isn't too big. And believe it or not, there are actually a few things I like about Pantech's user interface, which we'll talk about in just a second. So hardware-wise, does it compete with the Galaxy S3? Yes, on the software or on the hardware standpoint, it does. On the iPhone 4S, not so much if you like glass and you like metal, because the 4S has got the lockdown on that particular market, at least at $99. So decent design. Software-wise, Android 4.0 with Pantech's user interface, and Pantech's UI is very overbearing, so you may love that, you may hate it, but it's a completely custom version of Android. You don't really get any of the elements of Android 4.0 here, and you can see that between the on-screen buttons, which are actually kind of nice but do take up from the 4.8-inch total available space on the display. Back button, home button, recent applications, and then a menu button over here as well. Widget, wallpaper, tips, and settings shortcuts. You do get that stock menu button, or that soft menu button right there. Can't talk on this Friday, which seems to be nothing new, but you know what, it is what it is. It's Friday. And then I like this as well. This is a pretty cool little feature. This is something I actually pointed out in a workshop with some meetings that I was in. I think this is a cool feature. I would love to see this actually on more Android devices, where let's say you use email on a regular basis. Well, I can bring email down into my bar here. Camera down into my start bar area, and so I can scroll between applications, and of course the 4 that I use most frequently are right here, but I can swipe over and access email and camera without taking up home screen space. I think that's a pretty cool feature that actually comes with Pantech's user interface, and is, at least right now, something that only Pantech offers out of the box in the marketplace. 7 home screens, as you can see here, and here's the notification bar. Of course, Verizon's 4G LTE network running on this device. They crossed 500 markets by my count, so you got quite a few markets to take advantage of that 4G LTE capability. So you can get out there and use 4G as opposed to perhaps Sprint or T-Mobile's relatively new rollout, or even AT&T's rollout. While it is bigger than Sprint and T-Mobile's, they're still way behind Verizon. So from an LTE perspective, you got the device here that can take advantage of the most LTE networks across the nation. Settings shortcuts are here as well, so you've got the quick on and off stuff, very reminiscent of LG and Samsung here with the shortcuts up top, vibrate, data, GPS, all the stuff that you would use on a regular basis, but some setting shortcuts as well. So sound display, I can quickly and easily access my sound, so I can turn silent mode on, for example, where it's muted. I can go in here and change the phone ringtone and more, and then I can back right back out and be back at my home screen. You can hide those if you want to, and of course it has the pesky Wi-Fi notification as well in typical Verizon style. Verizon applications include Verizon apps, Document Viewer, Mobile Hotspot, My Verizon Mobile, Net Media, NFL Mobile, and some of these are Pantech applications as well. Real Racing 2, Shark Dash, got a Task Manager out of the box, View Dini, Verizon Tones, VZ Navigator, Visual Voicemail. Some of these are added fees as well. VZ Navigator costs extra per month. Visual Voicemail costs extra per month. IMDb costs extra per month. Actually, I'm sorry, that one does not cost extra. These two do, though. And then, of course, you can organize groups as well. So you can see the keyboard here, 4.8-inch display. So I can say, you know, Aaron for Aaron's applications and hit OK. And so I've got my new group, and it shows me how to move applications over to that group. So I can go browser, for example, and actually, I wasn't paying any attention. So I think I have to customize. Let's see, I have to do it like a certain way. I think it's browser, or do I press and hold? There's a way to do it, I just can't recall because I wasn't paying attention. Edit, touch and hold an application and drag it. So let's see, for example, there we go. Amazon, for example, let's say that's an Aaron application, and when I'm done, it's over in the Aaron folder, and I can access that from the start area. So I've got my groups here. I can do alphabetical if I want to and organize it that way, or I can organize it by downloads as well. And all I have out of the box right now, Google settings that has been downloaded. So got those recent applications down here as well, and I like this feature on Pantech's user interface called mini applications, such as music, where I can click on that, and it brings up kind of in a multitasking sort of way, music right here on my home screen. Now I can move this around, and again, keeping in mind the features you're getting here for 99 bucks, it's a nice value play to a lot of people because they don't want to spend $199 or $299 for the Note 2, but they want a device, you know what, that has some multitasking capabilities and perhaps has capabilities like motion sense, where you can wave over and answer the phone. Those are nice features, and of course you get those, at least some of those, over on this Pantech device. So home, press and hold, doesn't do anything because Google Now is not installed on this device because it's running Android 4.0, which is going to be a real point of contention for those people that love the latest version, or at least a later version of Android. Settings are here, mode change, and this is something that Pantech kind of brings over from their feature phone days. They've got a great starter mode, and then they have standard mode as well. So starter mode, much like what we've seen from other OEMs, simplified and easier experience. So perhaps for your grandmother, your grandfather, that first-time smartphone owner, maybe even somebody that just wants an easier experience, kick it over into starter mode, and then running applications in, and it brings over a much easier, a much easier version of Android that kind of gives it bigger icons and an easier feel with messaging right here. Now, unlike the Galaxy S4, for example, it is very much a kind of skin over Android. It's not a completely easy experience. You'll see that when I dive into something past a certain number of menus, for example, messaging, it brings up the usual messaging icons and the usual messaging applications. So it's not like a fully baked easy mode. It's just something that looks like an easy mode on the desktop when you're there. So got your phone shortcuts, and of course some shortcuts over here, but once you get too deep, music for example, it brings up the stock music player. So it's nothing too deep, so make sure you educate whoever you're buying this for. If you do switch it into easy mode, that they need to expect that. So actually we'll go back and take this out of easy mode. Let's find our settings. Applications, settings, and then of course you have system, mode change, standard mode, and then we'll go back and take a look really quickly at some of the personalization. So actually you do get a pretty reasonable amount of personalization on this device. We've got here a menu dedicated to it, screen lock, which I find particularly useful. You've got a visual lock, a slide lock, a modern lock, so I can change these around, and you'll see when I turn the device off and back on, it changes it around where I can quickly run messaging, quickly run phone calls, etc. I can change it between a wealth of different lock screens. I've got, let's see here, screen lock, Got the slide lock, which is what you saw out of the box if you watched the unboxing. Typical Android 4.0 lock screen. I believe I had it on that. Maybe I didn't have it on that. I think I may have had it on the Pantech face on, or maybe I had it on visual lock. Let's see what this one is. Visual lock. Yeah, that's what I had it on, visual lock, where I can access phone messaging just by swiping. Kind of an Android 2.2/2.3 look and feel there. So you get some personalization, and of course you have some wallpapers as well, and they take advantage of that 720p HD display. So some live wallpapers and then some regular wallpapers. I'll bring up clouds just so you can see what that looks like on the background. So all in all, keeping what you get in mind here, keeping what you get for your money in mind here, it's a pretty decent all-around performer. PhoneDog.com loading up, and I'll show you how the tabs look in the browser. You can easily access those just by swiping back and forth. And much like Chrome on the desktop, all I have to do is click the X and just delete those. PhoneDog.com. And I should point out this keyboard is SwiftKey, but it's a Pantech customized version of SwiftKey, as you see right here. Let me know, by the way, what you think of this new video format, the way that I'm kind of angling the camera. I got a new desk. Somebody in the office. PhoneDog can't talk and type at the same time. PhoneDog.com. There we go. PhoneDog.com loading up. Somebody was getting rid of a bunch of furniture, so I picked up kind of this small table that I thought would look cool on video, and I got excited a couple days ago and switched the camera format around, just having some fun. Let me know what you think of it. If you don't like it, love to hear from you. If you like it, love to hear from you too. Portrait to landscape transitions, easy here, little to no lag as you would expect. Most of these devices are pretty decent all around when it comes to web browsing. This is nothing new, but you've got your ability to change stuff around your home page, and then of course add windows just by clicking the plus button up top. Super easy to use. In part 2, we'll talk about the camera, and we'll go over some speed tests both on the quadrant standard side and on the network side to test Verizon's 4G LTE connectivity. Stay tuned for part 2.